Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. My name is Brad Tompkins, and I'm the host of Your Tech, Your Voice. And today we've got a fantastic person that we're going to be talking to. He is a National Geographic Explorer. He actually won the National Geographic Explorer of the Year back in 2013. He has literally been all over the globe. Mike Libecki, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me and taking the time and energy to come hang out with me. I'm really excited to talk and hear what kind of questions you have and share some interesting stories from around the world.
Well, my first question is, you're an adventurer, and how do you get started in this? Because I think about my work week and traveling and things, but like you're doing this at a level 10 times what the average person is. Like, what is a month in the life of Mike Libecki like?
A month would be hard to describe, I'd say, in some years. But it really started with, if you go way back, I'm an old math nerd. I love math and physics, and I love history. And math was a big part of my whole entire life in school. And so I look at my lifestyle and the expeditions, which I'll explain as these big equations. It's all very mathematical to me. But it really started with, I started rock climbing, moved to Yosemite National Park after college, and was climbing 300 days a year. And that sense of adventure became a real passion. And really, it comes down to the question, why ration passion? I think it's a gift that when you find a passion in life that creates organic enthusiasm, you roll with it. Because sometimes there's confusion in life, but there's never been a question for me. I love what I do, I know what I want to do, and I'm still riding that high of this passion and the why ration passion. And that comes from my grandmother, who was a big part of my life and just said, Mike, you have to go live your life. You have to do exactly what you want to do. Don't listen to anyone else. Go live it, go do it. And so my grandmother, Bertha, was a big inspiration, and she really encouraged me to just go live this life as best you can and follow your heart.
Well, we're in your lovely home here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and you can see the passion all around with all the different things that you've brought back from your travels and those kind of things. It's great to be here. It's a wonderful home. Thank you for having us.
It's an honor and pleasure to sit here and talk with you and share these stories. And the best part about my lifestyle is going on these expeditions and experiencing the magic and power and beauty of our planet and meeting people and the cultures. The second best part is being able to share these adventures and share these experiences. And ultimately, if I can bring back stories that create emotion in any way, shape, or form, I think that people can connect with emotion. I mean, we're humans that are these emotional beings. And if I'm talking about things where, polar bear issues and the dangers of that, or microplastics that are, surrounding our planet and in our oceans, bringing back stories that create emotion, I think people will start to care more about our planet and care more about the issues. And so I feel like I'm trying to do a little bit of that teamwork and do my part to get people to care about the planet and to find a way to have integrity and a better quality of life for our planet and our community.
Yeah, that's great. And I do think seeing that firsthand that you do out in the wild and being able to bring that to everybody, let's face it, we're all not going to be able to go to Antarctica and see that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about, the calculations, and I was doing some research. You were talking about how you really mitigate risk. And tell us a little bit about your philosophy when you go on these adventures that, they can be life-threatening sometimes. I mean, you have to be on your A game. But talk about how you calculate that and the work that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes into that, and I think I want to talk about how, if you really break it down, yes, these are very dangerous expeditions. They're usually in places that no one's been to before, that even in today's day and age, rescue possibility is just not there. But fear, I think all humans have a sense of fear in their lives in any different way. I think all humans in life have fear. I use that fear on expeditions as an ally and friend to double check, to triple check. And again, in that mathematical sense, there are a lot of constants that are there. But those variables that can be dangerous or even kill you are the ones I have to focus on. And when that fear kicks in, it's my partner. It helps me double check everything that's going on. And so, but I think it really has to do with that organic enthusiasm. I love what I'm doing. I'm excited about what I'm doing. And there's a saying that, it doesn't have to be fun to be fun, because it gets pretty intense out there. So that goes on to a theory I have that there's really, and this is learned from expeditions, there's two ways that we live our life. And the first one is joy. I think we all are pursuing joy with our family, with our friends, with our life, with our activities. Joy is that first way to experience life. The second way I see it is what I call pre-joy. Pre-joy are those moments when it's 100-mile-an-hour winds, it's minus 60 degrees, or even if you're having a tough time in a relationship or business or life, that pre-joy is always going to lead to the joy. So when you're having a tough day or a tough time, it's important to remember this is a pre-joy moment, but it's still a form of joy that leads to the ultimate joy. And that's something that is in the front wall of my mind and how I live my life.
That's interesting. I like that pre-joy. So it's all joy. It's just is it pre-joy or current joy?
You're having a tough day. Hey, this is just pre-joy. Figure it out. Take care of it. Do what you have to do. That joy is coming. So every time it's pre-joy, it is a form of joy because it's going to lead to the ultimate joy.
Right.
Yeah.
So to be able to do what you do and climb these, rock faces and mountains and all this kind of stuff, obviously your body is part of your equipment and you keep that in shape. But tell us a little bit about, what that routine, but also what about the other equipment that you bring on these expeditions and what part do they play in it?
So that's a great question. The equipment that I bring on expeditions is absolutely crucial to that equation and the final product of success. Whether it's my tent or my sleeping bags or my stoves, or for example, the technology that I bring out there. So it's the difference of failing or prevailing. The equipment I bring on my trips absolutely cannot fail, but even going further than that, it has to perform at an optimum performance. Or again, the expedition's over, maybe our life, or maybe our goals of shooting the film or a virtual reality experience. I mean, it has to work and it has to be badass, to be honest.
So what are you bringing on these expeditions? You talk about the technology side of this. I mean, it's not like you can just plug into the power grid and get these things rolling, and they have to not only perform, but perform at the best, and they're going to be in really tough environments.
Oh yeah, the harshest environments literally that exist on this planet, whether it's in deep jungles and it's raining 14 hours a day, every day. And I mean, that's one of the jungle, we should talk about that because that's the hardest on tech is when you have moisture and rain. If you're in sub-zero temperatures or it's snowing, it's pretty easy to deal with that kind of stuff. But the tech, it is a fascinating thing in the field and it really takes focus. You can't miss a beat out there. So for example, if we're out in Antarctica or Greenland or Siberia in the winter, we have a full setup of solar panels out there that are constantly charging all of the batteries that we have. So we have video cameras, still cameras, satellite phones, satellite equipment, all of our computers, our hard drives, anything that's tech, we have to rely that to be charged by the sun because we're in remote places. And it's really fascinating. And I'm also incredibly grateful for the technology that exists. Without this stuff, we can't do what we do. I'm constantly humbled and honored that there's such a big teamwork that creates these things that allows us to go do what we do. I feel absolute gratitude every day for it.
And you mentioned about how you can tell people about what you experience out there in the wild that makes them maybe think a little bit differently about recycling that plastic bottle or taking care of polar bears or whatever, without being able to capture that through video, through audio, through all those kind of things. Yes, you can tell the story, but it's not as compelling as people actually seeing the polar bear or seeing the plastic out there. So That's something that amazed me when we were talking earlier about the high quality that you're filming. Like again, this has to work at optimal performance because you are shooting at 4K, 8K, 11K. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, and when I say on the, has to work at the most optimal, high level, top notch performance, we're also trying to push that edge of tech, that edge of potential. So we are shooting the highest quality. I mean, we are shooting all our virtual reality in 11K now, in 3D. All of our video is at least 8K. There's something about this for me where to bring back these stories, one of the goals is how do I bring people with me on these trips with them not actually going? And one of the things that I think is solving that sort of problem or equation is virtual reality, putting on the headset. And this technology, it tricks your brain. It makes you feel like you are there. I mean, this is literally tricks your brain into feeling like you're in another world, in a virtual reality. And so that's the goal. How can I bring back these experiences to get them to care about the polar bears or stop using single-use plastics? Whatever the issues are, let's bring emotion. Let's get people to feel like they're there. Let's get them to care on a subconscious level where, oh, I'm going to make a change into this, but they really feel it. You know, they really, like, I'm going to make a change here. Like, it becomes part of their agenda in life as a human, as a global citizen, to make a change, to make the world a better place.
Nice. So what part does Dell specifically play in the equipment portfolio that you have?
So that's a great question, because Dell has been a top-level integral partner for everything that I'm doing, and it's been going on for several years. So for example, I take all of the Dell Rugged product in the field. And Dell Rugged, and I'll just give you an organic story. When I got contacted by Dell Rugged department, this was years ago, and they said, hey, you know, we've seen what you're doing with National Geographic and these expeditions. You know, our Dell Rugged product, it seems like it'd be great to go test those on these trips and see what they can do, sort of the real world lab. You know,
Right.
There's the labs that we can create and test and drop and rain tests and all these things, yet putting them in the real world is those situations you can't ever experience.
It's hard to duplicate the jungle.
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of a mystery. You don't know what's going to happen, whether it's minus 67 degrees in Siberia or, again, 100% humidity and 100 degrees. I mean, I was a little skeptical, thinking, well, you know, let's take them out and see what they can do. And we've had a lot of tech fail in these environments. So I took them on this trip. It was a huge expedition to the jungle. And not only did they survive, they performed in this environment. And we were downloading terabytes of video content through Dell Rugged on our hard drives. We were using it connected to a satellite, getting GPS, video chatting back home to our families and to our partners. And it was like, this stuff really works. And then I started leaving it out in the rain and throwing it down the jungle, and it still worked. And so I got back from that trip and I contacted the Rugged team. I was like, hey, there's something special happening here. From then on, we've been taking them on all of our trips and relying on them. I mean, they work, they don't fail. I mean, it's mathematical, there's no question. I can focus on the climb or the science or what I'm doing. I don't have to worry about my tech performing. And that is a huge deal out in the field, to be able to focus on what you're doing and not worry about the tech. But the Dell Rugged is top notch. And it's, again, down to the math. Either it works or it doesn't. And it does. And then you go beyond that, working with the Dell team, great people, excited about what they love what they do. I love what I do. So that synergy and that teamwork and working with people, we're all excited about what we're doing. Those dynamics take what we're doing to a new level. From the video we're bringing home or talking about the product, I'm going to go back to gratitude for Dell Rugged. I mean, and then you go on to Dell Precision, and then the gateway devices and the teams and all the tech and resources that we come together on. We're building schools around the world and bringing computer literacy to those who would maybe never have it. We're taking Dell Rugged to Antarctica and all these places and making these incredible films. I mean, it all comes down to teamwork. But going back to Dell Rugged, it's made my life a lot easier.
And you know, something you said, you're like, I need this equipment to work so you can focus on the climb, and sometimes this could be life and death or, you know, very serious situations. But that concept is true for anybody. Like, even if you're in the office, we want our customers and our office mates, we want the equipment to work, right? We just need it to work so they can focus on helping the customer, helping the client, helping whatever it is. So, you know, that concept, whether you're trying to scale a mountain or just help somebody, you know, at the DMV get a license or whatever,
Yeah.
you just need the equipment to work. You don't want people to have to worry about, oh, I've got to, you know, mess with this or that or whatever.
Yeah. Well, again, it really comes down to simple and no simpler. Does it work? Does it perform? Does it keep up with what we need to do? And the answer is yes. There's not a variable there. It works. We rely on it. One of the things I love about Dell Rugged over the years is the team, it's such an elite team. And so every year there's an upgrade, there's a performance upgrade, there's something happening where they're constantly wanting to make it better. And years ago, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And now even to this day with the new stuff I just took to Antarctica, the visuals on screen and how fast it is and how we can connect it to the networks with 5G capability. I mean, it's fantastic. It's such an honor to be part of this tech world that is allowing us to do things we never dreamed that we could do.
So Mike, on this recent expedition, I know you had some new rugged equipment in there. Tell us a little bit about what you were carrying and the model numbers and those kind of things.
Yeah, so the recent trip was to Antarctica, and it was really focused on microplastic science. So we had a lot of different things going on, and it was actually the first time this research has been done in Antarctica. But the main product that we were using and testing was the Dell Latitude 7330 Rugged Extreme. And we had those out there, I mean, completely soaked, completely frozen, and we're using them, and testing this. So it's like we're using them with bare hands, with gloves. I mean, we tested them once again, and I wasn't surprised to see that they worked perfectly. It was amazing.
That's great. So what's been the worst environment or situation those rugged laptops have been in?
So that's a great question, because over the years, my focus is, especially working with the Dell Rugged team, I want to take it to extreme desert, extreme jungle. And I use the word extreme because it works here in this environment, high altitude, and then Antarctica, which is like the final frontier. And I mean, it's a really harsh environment. But I'd say the most challenging conditions for rugged is the jungle, is humidity, is the rain. And that's for any tech.
Sure.
And it worked great. I mean, it was, and then, in the desert, and you get by a windstorm and it's just covered in dust, and we'd leave these out to test them, and they completely are buried in dust. And you smack them off, get the dust off, boom, on they go. Again, it's years of testing and years of working. I mean, it's hard to use the word perfect in life, but they work perfectly. And again, it just makes our life so easy to use these things.
When I think about making your life easy in the environment that you're in, that's saying a lot.
Well, and it goes back to, it doesn't have to be fun to be fun. I mean, I love being out there. I love doing this. And it's really exciting to go on these expeditions, and it's the mystery. The mystery really creates that enthusiasm because you just don't know what's going to happen. And that is one of the drives out there. I mean, it can be perfect weather one day, 100-mile-an-hour windstorm the next day, a polar bear could come into camp. You just never know what's going to happen on these trips, and I just love that,
And you've been doing these expeditions for years, and it's interesting how the technology has really changed. Like, you have so much more compute out in the field that it's really enabling you to do video capture, upload, those kind of things. Tell us about how out in the field, what you're able to do. Your office out in the middle of nowhere is really just as capable as an office in the middle of a downtown somewhere.
No, it's true. And there's sort of the saying or the hashtag office anywhere for what we're doing. And we use that a lot because we're out at a base camp, again, in one of these remote places. We have all our solar stuff set up. We have all our laptops charging, our cameras, everything. And with being able to connect with satellite now at a very high speed, we can do rushes on the fly. So we can shoot this shot, we can send it back, someone's editing it, oh, hey, do this again. So, and that's sort of started, I'll step back with that for a second. So when I first started doing virtual reality and deep After Effects and animation and graphics, it used to be where you have to render this stuff overnight. It's like, okay, we all have this stuff, it'll be done by morning and it's working all night. That was the first step where I was like, wow, this is incredible using Dell Precision. And so we're doing all these After Effects and animation, and it's happening in real time. It's like we can keep working, which is important for a lot of us. This stuff has to happen now. We got to get it off. We have deliverables. We're going on to the next trip. So it's constantly in motion. But being in the field in a remote place, and I'm talking the most remote places on the planet. And I'm not exaggerating that. And that's
I know you're not.
As a modern day explorer, that's an incredible statement to say that. And to have an office anywhere and to be able to be sending back high resolution video via satellite on the fly to the editor back home, working on this, it's allowing our workflow to be something we could have never imagined. It's really helping. And it also, here's what that does for us as well. This lifestyle is very challenging because I'm gone a lot. So you have your family back home, you have your friends back home, you have your animals, your lifestyle, your home. And that's very important for mental wellness, for the quality of our lives, for the connections with our family and friends. And being able to work like that in real time and to have stuff on, go as fast as we need it to go, it allows us to be able to step aside and connect with what's really important, with our family and friends. And so there are a lot of aspects from Dell Precision and how fast we can work, from being in the field on Rugged and connecting to satellite and working in real time. It allows for this career, which can be very challenging on a lot of people, to actually work and to actually feel good and to actually be healthy.
And now imagine you're using this equipment too out in the field to make that call back home. Maybe it's some kind of video conference or whatever to try to stay as much connected as you can when you're gone as much as you are. And 5-10 years ago, that just wasn't a possibility. Maybe you got a voice call in, but that was it.
Yeah, and you know what? I really want to stress what I'm about to say. This is very important to me. So, I talk about Dell Rugged, and Dell Rugged is a partner. The technical matter, the team, and it's fascinating and incredible what we can do in the field with this. But I got to say, the most important thing for me is to be able to open up this laptop or this tablet, connect to a satellite, and video chat with my daughter, video chat with my family, and staying connected, letting them know that I'm safe, hearing about their day, video chatting from anywhere in the world on a rugged device. That is one of the most important, if not the most important thing I want out of that I can stay connected with family. And this lifestyle is a dream for me. It's everything that I've wanted. I love what I do. And there's always compromise and sacrifice. There's always behind the scenes that are very difficult. Being gone all the time, missing Christmas, missing a birthday. Being able to stay connected like that is top importance for me. I mean, it really is.
And that connection is good for you, but it's also good for the family members that are back home. Hey, I know, you talk about your daughter. I know my dad's okay because I just talked to him 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, and just even the connection, just staying in touch. I mean, years ago, yes, satellite phones came out and you can make a call and maybe the call would drop and you can't always connect all the time. And so imagine leaving for 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, and not being in touch with your loved ones. It's hard on me, it's hard on them. And again, there's a part of the lifestyle that is very challenging. And what's more important than our family and our friends and our community and people in life? I don't know what's more important than that. And so now with the technology, being able to stay connected, as I mentioned, it just brings so much more joy. It brings support from family. I mean, it's hard. Mental wellness is a very big deal for all of us. And that aspect of staying connected with the people that I love, for both them and myself, it's the most important thing.
So you mentioned earlier about going out and helping in remote areas to set up laptops for a school and those kind of things. And I know your daughter had a huge hand in kind of how all that got started. Tell us a little bit about the fund and Lily's part in it.
I'll start with, my daughter has had a very unique lifestyle growing up. And I mentioned too, I like to ramble a lot, but I want to tell you a little bit about this because it's not only being a father, and my daughter is the greatest joy of my life, and there's many of them, but no doubt about it. We did an expedition together when she was 11 years old to Antarctica for a ski expedition, which is a whole other story.
Wow, that's just,
little 11-year-old girl who's like, Dad, I want to go ski in Antarctica. And I'm like, well, you have to train for avalanches, for rescue, for safety, with ropes, all that, And we went out here, we lived in some of the best skiing and mountains in the world when she was, 8, 9, 10 years old, and we're training, not just as a dad and daughter, but as partners in the wilderness, which is very important. I've lost friends over the years. It's a real deal. You know your stuff, you focus, you communicate. And so we're out there again as dad and daughter, but also as partners. So we went on this incredible trip to Antarctica together. It was amazing. And when we got back, she sort of started getting this travel adventure bug. And she's like, she came home one day from school. after that trip and said, Dad, I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro next year. And so she would be 12 years old when she wants to climb that. And it's a big climb.
Yes.
So we went to climb Kilimanjaro, and I connected with some of my friends. I work with a lot of different companies, like a solar company called Goal Zero. And we did we climbed Kilimanjaro, and then we did this big project where we brought solar power to schools and churches and an orphanage. And my daughter was there for that. And it was a huge awakening moment for her that, Dad, these people don't have warm water. They don't have toilets. The dinner that we ate was that chicken running there just minutes before. And, she really was, wow, look at how privileged our lives are.
Yes.
Where we live. Look how lucky that we are. And it's like, Dad, how can we help? How can we make a difference? And we installed all this solar at an orphanage. She's like, and the kids loved her, and we spent a lot of time there. And she was very serious about this. Dad, can we adopt these two girls and can we adopt them? Can they be part of our family? And it was just such an emotional, and I'm like, hey, there's a lot more to that. No, we can't do that. And we left that trip with her saying, what can I do? How can I help? And I said, well, we could start an organization, and we could bring together people and funds and try to do our part to make the world a better place. Not long after that, she started a 501c3 nonprofit. Of course, I'm helping her with this, but she was really, sort of leading these ideas. Long story short, that has turned into finding out what are the needs of different communities around the world. What do they need? What do they want that can actually help? And we have found that solar, solarizing their homes, their communities, and having electricity is huge. And equally, they want and need to be computer literate and have computer education. And it allows these remote communities, if they have computer education, to be able to go to college, to be able to go to a different career out of their village and do something bigger that they dream of. I mean, these communities, they want to be doctors. They want to help people. They want to figure out how to, grow crops better. They want to grow a business. And so computer literacy and education worldwide is very, very important for these communities. And so we've partnered with Dell, and we've partnered with Goal Zero, who does the solar. And now we build schools around the world in these communities. We teach them about the computers, we teach the teachers, the students, and the key here is sustainability. It's not just doing these projects and saying, oh, hey, great, we've built the school, here's the solar, here's the computers. It's sustainability. It's commitment to the training, to being in touch, making sure this stuff works, making sure it makes a difference. We did a trip a few years ago to India that we brought new computers and training, and we've come to find out that 14 of these kids with those skills are now off into college.
Wow.
And so there's,
that's great.
And if we're just doing our part in any way that we can, I think that as an explorer, but I think just as a human, if we're not doing something to try to give back in our community, whether it's local or globally, I think it's a responsibility for it. I know it's a responsibility as a human to try to give back in some way. Mm-hmm. And my daughter has inspired me to do this, and our family and our friends and community, and it's been going really well for years. We have another one coming up to Bolivia that we're partnering with Dell and Goal Zero on, and we're building 2 schools. We're bringing 50 new computers. We just shipped 6,000 pounds of solar equipment to solarize all this stuff. I mean, and we're bringing internet to these communities that would have never had it. And I want to note on, this is something that they want. This is something that it's not, oh, here's these cultures or people living the way that they have. What are you doing bringing in this tech? They want this. Just look at us sitting here. We have all of this technology, all of these comforts. They want the same thing.
Sure.
They want to have all these things too. There's no reason to not help them with that. And so it comes back, you're going to hear me say this a lot, it comes back to gratitude. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do these projects. And I would need to make it clear that this is about teamwork. Hundreds, if not thousands of people that really make our nonprofit possible, the projects that we do possible. And that is a huge shout out to Dell. I mean, they make it possible for us to do these projects. And they even send a team of Dell people to be on site, to be living in tents and eating maybe rice for dinner and some challenging situations people aren't used to. And they're training the teachers and they're training the kids. I mean, the commitment from Dell, I have to give a big shout out. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing with the teamwork with us and the commitment that they've made. I just feel honored that we can do this, and I hope we can continue making the world a better place. And I want to make it clear, I'll ask the question to people listening right now. What did you do last year, last month, last week to give back in some way? What are you doing this weekend with your family? What are you doing next month or next year to do some kind of give back? It doesn't matter. Volunteering at the Humane Society and walking dogs, or what are you doing to donate to the homeless shelter, or are you organizing people to go out and pick up trash on the trails? Like, do something, and I think that's part of being a human. It's really great because my daughter calls the nonprofit the Joyneering Fund. So imagine
I like that.
Yeah, so imagine engineering or mountaineering, joyneering, the act of bringing joy and doing our part.
So what's the URL? How can people find out more about Joy?
Yeah, so if you go to joyfund.org, joyfund.org, you can find out all about it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Dell Tech World is coming up here in a few weeks, actually, and I know you will be at Dell Tech World. You're a regular now at Dell Tech World.
Yeah.
What do you have in store for the folks that will be participating? It'll be in person, which we're excited about.
Yeah.
What do you have going on there?
I'm excited for a couple reasons. So we got Dell Tech World. I get to see all my Dell friends. I know so many people in so many departments over the years, so I'm really excited to reconnect in person. As we all know, these last couple years, they've been an interest. Let's just use the word interesting.
Pre-joy.
Yeah, there's been some pre-joy the last couple years for sure. So that pre-joy is leading to the joy. But Dell Tech World, I love it, and I have so many things going on this year, and I'm really excited about it. We're presenting our new virtual reality experience, and I hope people will come by and check it out. It's from our recent trip to Antarctica, where we're doing microplastics research, and we're turning it into augmented reality. Again, next level tech. We're doing some interviews, some presentations that I'm doing. I'm just excited to be in person and connect with community and have fun and have these discussions and this Q&A and talk about life. And it's such a great part of what I do, is to connect with people like that. And I come from the adventure, Nat Geo side, and then going into sort of a tech world is just different people. And it's so fun to be able to connect and have conversations about everything we're talking about today. So yeah, I hope to see you there. I hope to see a bunch of people at Dell Tech World pretty soon.
Yeah, it'll be great. A lot of people
Yeah.
will be there, so
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll find you and we can continue the conversation. So yeah, Dell Tech World's going to be great. Obviously, be a ton of people there, but also the equipment's going to be there. So we'll be able to get to see some of this rugged equipment and rugged extreme equipment. And I know you just recently got back from Antarctica. Tell us about some of the equipment that you had on there and Dell's work to support that expedition.
Yeah, that's a really great topic. So I want to talk a little bit about the recent trip we did. And this was a Dell partner trip, and it was to Antarctica, the hardest and most expensive place to get to. And Antarctica is, it's our last pristine continent. And so there's still a lot of science to be done there. There's still a lot of things to learn. So we went to Antarctica. One of our main objectives was to test the new Dell Rugged product, some monitors, and the Edge Gateway device, which is machine learning AI technology. But what we were doing is science to research for microplastics. Microplastics is a huge issue right now on our planet. I mean, there are microplastics everywhere. For years, I've been taking samples of water all over the world. 90+% of these samples of water all have plastics in them. So we went to Antarctica. Wow. A really good friend of mine, Abby Barrows, I think we took over 58 samples, air samples and water samples, looking for microplastics. But what we were doing is combining tech and science. So we're taking these samples and we're doing the machine learning and edge computing to help us understand these microplastics, where they're coming from, what we can do to stop them. So there's a lot of tech to talk about there, and there's going to be a lot of information at Dell Tech World to talk about this. But it was just fascinating to go down there and not only take the samples to see if there are microplastics there, but to apply them to tech and AI and machine learning. And that's something that's in the process right now. And we're onto something here about figuring out how we can stop microplastics. I mean, there's over 12 million tons of plastic getting put into our oceans every year. Plastics do not biodegrade or break down. They just get smaller into microplastics. Most of the fish that we eat have plastics in them. Just this month, for the first time, microplastics have been found in human blood and human lungs.
Wow.
Which means it's being breathed in. We're drinking it. It is a big issue. And another big shout out to Dell, because they're supporting this research. They're asking, what can we do to give back? What can we do to be a solution for the plastic problem? I don't know if you know this, but within 50 kilometers of shorelines, Dell is taking plastics and making them into their packaging. They're doing everything they can as a company to try to solve the problem, to be a sustainable company, to try to inspire others. Hey, we're a business here. We're using these resources. How do we recycle them? How do we have better business practice? And it's one of the reasons that I love working with Dell. When I say Dell, it's a company, but it's people. It's people I'm working with, and they're investing a lot of money into research, into recycling, into understanding how we can make the world a better place in so many ways, but focusing on the plastics and the microplastics. And that's a huge testament. These are people that care, and it makes me want to work hard and to bring the best feedback, the best testing, the best videos. It's very, very motivating to work with these people and crush it out there.
I remember when I got my Precision, I opened it up, and part of that unboxing process, they had stated on there, this is recycled, this came from ocean plastics. And I remember that. I've had that Precision now for a couple of years, and I'm like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive, because it's probably not the least expensive way to do that, right? But it is helping the environment to get these things out of the ocean.
1,000,000%, and they don't have to do anything. But they're choosing to invest millions and millions of dollars into being sustainable and to turning these plastics into packaging, to make sure that they're recycled. They have a recycling program for all of the tech that you can send in, and they'll recycle the gold, they'll take the parts, they'll reuse all the stuff. The list goes on. It's important for me to talk about this and to let people know what Dell is doing, because I don't think everyone knows. You hear about these big tech companies and they're doing, but it's a priority. They're focused on it. They've been doing it for years, and it's integrity. It's a company with integrity. It's people with integrity.
So you mentioned about the AI/ML when you're on site. So, earlier I was envisioning, you've got this great connectivity, you can send the feeds back, but now you're telling me that bringing edge devices, you can do that compute right where you are and start processing the AI/ML pieces of it right there in Antarctica.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, and it goes back to shooting video or VR in real time, working with editors that are on the other side of the world in real time. So now science, and the microplastic science specifically, getting those samples, bringing a microscope, looking at what's happening, plugging it into the machine learning and AI. And this, again, this is new tech. This is on the forefront of new tech. So right now what we're doing is learning how to teach these machines, learning for these machines to take that information and for it to teach us to come back. And so this full circle of machine learning and AI. So right now, we're on a tech exploration, not just a Nat Geo exploration on the Earth. We are now exploring tech and science, and it's going to change the world. It's going to solve these problems. It's going to bring solutions. It's exciting to be part of this teamwork.
And if you've got the AI/ML working there for you, it speeds things up, right? It might put out some kind of information to where you think, let me go get a sample over here. Let me get that sample, there, here, an additional one or whatever. Whereas in the past, you'd be back home and you'd be like, I wish I would have done this. Well, now you get those immediate answers, and it can help speed up the process of, yes, the machines are learning, but we're continuing to help it learn more as well.
Well, and that's part of the beauty of it. So not only the speed of it, but the information that we may never be able to have without an artificial intelligence device. So, for example, we're in Antarctica. It is pristine. This is the most remote place in the world. And we're taking air samples that have microplastics in them. We're taking water samples, water flowing off a glacier. You'd think you drink this water and you stay young forever or something. There's plastics in it. It's mind-blowing. I mean, how are plastics getting into these waterways? Where are they coming from? And if you really break it down, you and I are part of this problem. We're washing clothes, the fibers from those clothes going out your washing machine into the waterways. We're all part of this problem. The plastics are coming from all of us. With this machine learning AI technology, if we know where they're coming from, where's the origin of this? Where is it happening? If this is coming from, big industry or that information, we have to understand more information to be able to solve the problem. And that's what it's allowing us to do.
That's great. It's good work out there that you're doing, and it's great to have a partner like Dell to help out, not only with the compute, but just helping out in a lot of different ways and doing their part with making sustainable packaging and those sort of things.
Well, and I want to say how you mentioned that Dell helping out, it's more than that. And I really want to make it clear, because we're talking about this, we're talking about Dell. They're not just helping me. They are like, how can we do this? They're making it a priority. What do you need? What are the resources? What are the things that we could provide? The amount of teamwork and time and energy and everyone's busy lives in these companies, in this business, they're making it a priority. It's not just, oh, here's some money and go do this. What can we do? Here's our teams. Let's put these guys to work and let's figure this out. And it's amazing. I'm inspired, I'm humbled, and I'm grateful for the people that are saying, we want to keep continuing technology. We want to continue growing this, but how can we do it at the end of the day that we're happy about it? We know there's integrity and we're doing our best efforts, and that's Dell.
That's Dell. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, well, I have one more question for you. So in doing my research, I noticed that you have a propensity to put on masks when you're at the top of these summits. And I think it is around, whatever the Chinese calendar says the animal should be, but why do you do that? How did that get started?
Well, let me make sure you understand it, because I get that question a lot, and people are like, who is this guy on the summit wearing these masks? And way, way, way back, I did this trip on Denali, so the highest point in North America. And I went with a good friend of mine from Japan, and we went and climbed this mountain, and it happened to be Year of the Tiger that year. So we were getting close to the summit. We were at 17,000 foot camp, and he breaks out these full tiger suits. And I'm talking like full tiger head suits, everything. And there were a couple other climbers on the mountain. Well, there were several others. And we put on these suits. And what it did first was it just brought laughter. It brought something fun. It brought something that put aside our fear of getting, frozen to death, or, it just was like, whoa, this is fun. This is interesting. We're laughing right now. And if we can laugh in life, that's a good thing. So we put on these suits and we passed a few of the climbers, and we don't know if they were laughing at us or with us, but it brought more laughter. And then we took photos on the summit, and I do tons of presentations, and then the audience is laughing. I'm laughing. I think that we all know when there is organic laughter, when we're laughing, life is good. It is joy. There's no pre-joy in laughter. And so that became a tradition. Every single expedition, for every summit, it was that Year of the Chinese, new moon calendar, and, Year of the Tiger, Year of the Dragon, Year of the Snake. And it's just been a fun tradition because it just makes us laugh, and it brings laughter. But more than that, remember all of us and that childlike joy, the childlike feelings of living in the moment. And whether it was skating or BMX or whatever anyone did as a kid, it was just, you're in the moment, you're having fun. It brought back this childlike feeling where I'm never going to really grow up. I want to keep part of that child with me. And that's really it. It brings laughter, it brings joy. And people think it's funny or strange, or think I have maybe some mental challenges or who knows what. I love it. And if I can make people laugh through what I'm doing, I think it's important.
Well, Mike, thanks so much for spending some time with us. And thank you for all the work that you do to help the world become a better place. And, you know, I love all the sayings that you have about, you know, joy and the pre-joy and why ration passion. It's just, you know, it's a great way to live. And it was a pleasure to spend time with you today. Thank you for allowing us into your home.
Well, you're very welcome. And I sincerely appreciate you being here because I want to share this stuff. You know, I love working with these teams and people, and I just want to say it's teamwork. Everything happens with teamwork, and I just will throw out there a question for you, a question for anyone watching. Why ration passion?
Why ration passion? I like it. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. I know you enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn more about Dell Client, you can at dellclientcommunities.com. There you can become a member and find out a lot more about the Dell Client community.
Your tech, your voice. Why ration passion?